As the years go on, we look back at the rock and roll era of the great DJs or hosts, Alan Freed, Dick Clark, Casey Kasem. But this guy stands out because he not only became a pop star through the Guess Who singing about him, he became an acting sensation and he became a household name for just being himself. And when he passed away at the young age of 57 on Canada Day 1995, the whole world was left to mourn. Robert Weston Smith, known as Wolfman Jack, was an American DJ, actor for over 3 decades. Famous for the gravelly voice, which he credited for his success, he noted that he kept meat and potatoes on the table for years for the Wolfman and the Wolfwoman. A couple of shots of whiskey helps it. I got that nice raspy sound. Now, born in Brooklyn on January 21st, 38, he was the younger of 2 children of Anson Weston Smith, an Episcopal Sunday school teacher, writer, editor, and executive vice president of Financial World, and his wife, Rosamond Small. He lived on 12th Street and 4th Avenue and went to Manual Training High School in the Park Slope section. His parents divorced when he was a child. To help him keep him out of trouble, his father bought him a large transoceanic radio, and Smith became an avid fan of R&B and the disc jockeys who played it, including Douglas Jocko Henderson of Philadelphia, New York's Dr. Jive, Tommy Smalls, the Moondog from Cleveland, Alan Freed, and Nashville's John R. Rishburr, who later became his mentor. After selling encyclopedias and fuller brushes door to door, he attended the National Academy of Broadcasting in Washington. Now, after graduating from NAB in 1960, Smith began working as Daddy Jules on WYOU in Newport News, Virginia. When the station format changed to beautiful music, thank you, Johnny Fever, he became known as Roger Gordon in the music in good taste. In 1962, Smith moved to country music station KCIJ 1050 in Shreveport as a station manager and morning disc jockey. Big Smith with the records. He married Lucy Lou Lamb in 1961, and he eventually had 2 children. Now, Cleveland's Alan Freed had originally called himself the Moondog after New York City street musician Moondog. Freed both adopted his name and used a recorded howl to give his early broadcasts a unique character. Smith's adaptation of the Moondog theme was to call himself Wolfman Jack and add his own sound effects. The character was based in part on the manner and style of bluesman Howling Wolf. At CCIJ, he first began to develop his famous alter ego, Wolfman Jack. According to author Philip A. Lieberman, Smith's Wolfman persona derived from Smith's love of horror films and his shenanigans as a Wolfman with his 2 young nephews. The Jack nickname was taken from the hipster lingo of the 1950s, as in Take a Page from My Book, Jack, or the more popular Hit the Road, Jack, Don't You Come Back, no, you know what I'm saying. In 1963, at a young age, he took his act to the border when Enter American Radio Advertising's Raymond Bosquez hired him and sent him to the studio and transmitter site of XERF AM at Ciudad Acuna in Mexico, a station across the U.S.-Mexico border from Del Rio, Texas, whose high-powered border blaster signal could be picked up across much of the states. In an interview with writer Tom Miller, Smith described the reach of XERF signal. We had the most powerful signal in North America. Birds drop dead when we flew too close to the tower. A car driving from New York to L.A. would never lose the station. Now, many of the Mexican border stations broadcast at 150,000 watts, 3 times the U.S. limit, meaning that their signals were picked up all over North America and at night as far away as Europe and the Soviet Union. At XERF, he definitely signature style with phrases such, "Who's this on a Wolfman telephone?" and widespread fame. The border stations made money by renting time to Pentecostal preachers and psychics and by taking 50% of the profit from anything sold by mail order. The Wolfman did pitches for dog food, weight loss pills, weight gain pills, rose bushes, and baby chicks. Even a pill called Florex, which is supposed to enhance one's sex drive, was sold. Wolfman would say, "Some zing for your ling nuts." XARB was the original call sign for the border blaster station in Rosarito Beach, Mexico, which was branded as the Mighty 1090 in Hollywood. The station boasted 50,000 watts of Boss Soul power. That station continues to broadcast under the call signs XEPRS AM. XERB also had an office in the rear of a small strip mall on 3rd Avenue in Chula Vista, California, just 10 minutes from the Tijuana border crossing. The Wolfman was rumored to actually broadcast from the station during the early to mid-60s. Smith left Mexico after 8 months and moved to Minneapolis to run station KUXL. Although Smith was managing a Minneapolis radio station, he was still broadcasting as Wolfman Jack on XERF via tape shows that he sent to the station, which is kind of hinted at in American Graffiti, the alleged Wolfman character. Now, missing the excitement, however, Wolfman returned to Border Radio to run XERB and opened an office on Sunset Boulevard in LA on January 66. He recorded shows in LA and shipped these tapes across the border of Mexico, where they would be beamed across the US. Now, in 71, the Mexican government, under pressure from the Roman Catholic Church, banned the Pentecostal preachers from the radio, taking away 80% of XERB's revenue. Smith then moved to station KDAY 1580 in LA, which could only pay him a fraction of his former XERB income. However, he capitalized on his fame, though, by editing his old XERB tapes and selling them to the radio stations everywhere, becoming one of the first rock and roll syndicated programs. Now, as the tapes began to age, they were eventually marketed to oldie stations. He also appeared on the AFR, Armed Forces Radio, from 70 to 86. At his peak, Wolfman Jack was heard on more than 2,000 radio stations in 53 countries. He was heard as far afield as the Wild Coast, Transkei, on Capital Radio 604, based there. Now, in a deal promoted by Don Kelly, the Wolfman was paid handsomely to join the great WNBC in New York in August 73, the same month that American Graffiti premiered, and the station did a huge advertising campaign in local newspapers, predicting the Wolfman would propel their ratings over those of his main competitor, WABC's Cousin Brucey, played by Bruce Morrow. The advertisements proclaimed, "Cousin Brucey's days are numbered, Wolfman Jack is on the prowl," and thousands of small tombstone-shaped paperweights were distributed that said, "Cousin Brucey is going to be buried by Wolfman Jack." Now, ironically, after less than a year, WNBC hired Cousin Brucey, and Wolfman Jack went back to California to concentrate his syndicated radio show, which was carried on KRLA Pasadena in LA from 84 to 87. He then moved to Belvedere, North Carolina in 89 to be closer to his extended family. In the 1980s, he did a brief stint on Xerox XEROK 80, another border blaster station that was leased by Dallas investors Robert Hanna, Grady Sanders, and John Ryman. He also hosted a TV show at Little Darling's Rock and Roll Palace, which was eventually renamed Wolfman Jack's Rock and Roll Palace. Ryman then moved Smith to Scott Ginsberg-owned Y95 in Dallas. Now, recordings of Wolfman Jack's old shows were reintroduced in syndication a decade after his death and remain available to local stations through Talon Farm as of mid-2020. Now, in his early days, Wolfman Jack made sporadic public appearances, usually as an MC for rock bands at LA clubs. At each appearance, he looked a little different because he had not decided what the Wolfman should look like. Early pictures show him with a goatee, but sometimes he combed his straight hair forward and had a dark makeup to look somewhat ethnic. Other times, he had a big afro wig and large sunglasses. The ambiguity of his race and, for some, his sexuality contributed to the controversy of his program. His audience finally got a good look at him when he appeared in the '69 film A Session with the Committee, a montage of skits by the comedy troupe The Committee. Now, Wolfman Jack started his recording career in Minneapolis while working at KUXL Radio in '65 with George Garrett, who helped record the album Boogie with the Wolfman by Wolfman Jack and the Wolfpack on the Bread label. He was also responsible for engineering, producing, and assembling the band. Wolfman Jack also released Wolfman Jack in '72 and True the Age of '73 on the Wooden Nickel label. Now, in '73, he appeared as himself in George Lucas' second feature film, American Graffiti. Lucas gave him a fraction of a point, the division of profits for a film. But the extreme financial success of American Graffiti provided him with a regular income for life. Some people say in the multi-million-dollar range. He also appeared in the film's '79 sequel, More American Graffiti, though only through voiceovers. In '78, he appeared as Bob the Jackal Smith in a made-for-TV movie, Dead Man's Curve, based on the musical careers of Jan Barry and Dean Torrance of Jan and Dean. Very underrated movie, you can find it, by the way. Smith has also appeared in several TV shows of Wolfman Jack, including The Odd Couple, What's Happening, Vegas, Hollywood Squares, Married with Children, which was his final public performance before he passed, Emergency, The New Adventures of Wonder Woman, and Galactica in 1980. He was also the regular announcer and occasional host for the Midnight Special on NBC from '73 to '81. Of course, the Guess Who did clap for the Wolfman in that era. He was the host of his own variety series, The Wolfman Jack Show, which was produced by Canada by CBC in '76 and syndicated to stations US. In '84, Wolfman starred himself in the short-lived ABC animated series Wolf Rock TV. He also voiced the chief of the Ramalama tribe on the TV special Garfield in Paradise in '86. Now, Jim Morrison's lyrics for The Wasp, Texas Radio and the Big Beat were influenced by Wolfman Jack's broadcasting. He is mentioned on Sugarloaf's 74 hit single, Don't Call Us, We'll Call You, and on a Grateful Dead song, Ramble on Rose. He furnished his voice again in the Guess Who's top 10 hit single, Clap for the Wolfman. And in 76, he furnished his voice on Did You Boogie With Your Baby by Flash Cadillac and the Continental Kids. Jack was regularly parodied on the hilarious House of Frightenstein as the Wolfman, played another Canadian TV program. He was an actual werewolf disc jockey who looked inspired by the original The Wolfman movies. A few years earlier, Todd Rundgren recorded a tribute to Wolfman Jack on the album Something Anything. The single version of the track includes a shouted talk-over introduction by the Wolfman, but the album version, Rundgren performs that part himself. Canadian band The Stampeders also released a cover of Hit the Road Jack in 75, featuring him. From 75 to 1980, Wolfman Jack hosted Hollywood Haunt and Knott's Berry Farm, which transforms itself into Knott's Scary Farm each year for Halloween. It was the most successful special event of any theme park in the country, and often sold out. Now in 2012, the estate of Wolfman Jack released a hip-hop single featuring Wolfman Jack clips as the vocals. In 2016, clips from the Wolfman Jack radio program were used in a Rob Zombie film, 31. Now, when one surviving shipment was originally being the Pirate Radio network of Radio Caroline North and Radio Caroline South sank in 1980, a search began to find a replacement. Because of new laws passed in UK in 67, under the Marine and Broadcasting Offensive Act, the sales operation needed to be situated outside the UK. For a time, Don Kelly, Wolfman Jack's business partner and personal manager, acted as a West Coast agent for the planned new Radio Caroline, but the deal eventually fell apart. As part of his process, Wolfman Jack was set to deliver the morning shows on a new station. To that end, he recorded a number of programs that never aired because the station did not come on air according to schedule. It eventually returned in 1983 with a new ship, which remained at sea until 1990. Today, those tapes are traded among collectors of his work. Now, on July 1st, 1995, unfortunately, he passed away from a heart attack at his house in Belvedere shortly after finishing a weekly broadcast. He was only 57. He is buried at the family cemetery in Belvedere. Now, Jack is portrayed by Jack Black in the 2012 satirical biopic, Weird, the Al Yankovic Story. He's portrayed as a rival of Dr. Demento, played in the film by Rainn Wilson. Now, from 78 to 80, an animatronic band called the Wolfpack 5 appeared twice at the IAAPA and at the first Showbiz Pizza. The leader of the band was an anthropomorphic wolf who was modeled after Jack. He's voiced by Aaron Fetcher. On Diamond D's 92 album, Stunts, Blunts, and Hip Hop, a parody of Wolfman Jack is done in the skit Wolfman Stressed Out. Now, Wolfman Jack's voice was used in the 89 beat-em-up arcade video game DJ Boy as the announcer Demon Kokare in the American version. In his 2022 song Murder Most Foul, Bob Dylan invokes Wolfman Jack many times. Now, filmography, American Graffiti was not his acting debut. Programs include The 7 Minutes, American Graffiti, The Odd Couple, Emergency, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, he was one of the chorus at the end, Hanging on a Star, Dead Man's Curve, The New Adventures of a Wonder Woman, What's Happening, More American Graffiti, Motel Hell, The Fonz and the Happy Days Gang, Galactica, Wolf Rock TV, The Midnight Hour, Mortuary Academy, Midnight, Swamp Thing, the TV series. He played Hurley, and he played himself in Married with Children, Ship Happens Part 1. So Wolfman Jack, ladies and gentlemen, what a tremendous proponent of what he called classic rock and roll. He basically once said in Canada, "I'm only here because of the love of my audience to keep me going." But if he lived another 10 or 15 years, who knows where his career would have gone? But he didn't have to work. That money from American Graffiti, ladies and gentlemen, it's like I said, many millions of dollars. He was getting residual checks. And he would always say when he was visiting sometimes, "Can I say this on the show again?" He said, "God bless George Lucas." So that's the story of the great Wolfman Jack, and the world would be a much better place if he was still living. He was the heart and soul of rock and roll. He wasn't the queen of rock and roll like Little Richard or the king of rock and roll like Elvis, but you need a good DJ to provide the music. And, those type of DJs are not around anymore, although you see traditional DJs. But a good DJ was like a friend. And no matter what happens, he would take a request, he would make you laugh. But some of the parts he does in American Graffiti are the most entertaining part of the show, because there's some boring pieces in American Graffiti, but he rises that up. He's the link, as we say. He's the narrator. So that's the story, the life and legend of Wolfman Jack. If you like what you're doing here, where there are vintage tributes to rock and roll stars, both living and dead, let us know with a like, comment, subscribe, or share. We're getting close to 3,000 subscribers, so every one you add today, you are getting closer to that 3,000. That's the magic number. And if the Wolfman Jack could say it, support Canadian music, he would say that too. Have a good one.